and here is lesson 5 of the week, the impact of physical factors on performance. Now this is going to be specifically for softball, and again we're going to be able to describe, explain, analyse and evaluate by the end of the lesson. Here we go. So physical factors. These are the factors that involve everything physical. The body, what it does, how it functions, where it goes. For example, speed, agility, tactics, skill repertoire and skill fluency. There's millions more, but those are just examples, and today we're going to be looking at skill repertoire for softball. Now, what does that mean? Certainly not that. We'll try that again. So what is skill repertoire? A performer's skill repertoire is the range of skills that the performer is able to perform effectively. Now, if it's not effective, it's not in your repertoire. Like, just because you can pretend to do something doesn't mean that it's part of your repertoire. So it has to be the skill that you can perform effectively. So, what are the skills in softball that you need to be able to have and do effectively? So it's bowling, or pitching as it might be called, catching, batting and running. Now running might sound simple, but some people don't have good running technique. So these are the things that you should have in softball to make you effective. These are the skill repertoires. So for SQA theory, you're going to need to be able to describe, explain, analyse and evaluate the impact of physical factors on performance. And our physical factor is skill repertoire. And we're going to be looking at all of this again today. Going to make us pros at it. So skill repertoire and softball, we're going to be again looking at fielding and batting, so the skills that are involved in that. But moving on, break the effects down. You would be unable to respond effectively to all the demands of the performance, such as having to bat and not just field. What would happen if you couldn't bat? You may also be unable to field or catch very well, meaning you would become predictable to the opposition. What would happen? So if the opposition know that you're not very good at catching, what would happen? So if you didn't have a full repertoire, you couldn't catch, what would happen? And for the first one, if you couldn't bat, so what would happen? Thinking about these effects, in your jotter or piece of paper, give one brief example from the latter two examples of how not having either of these skills can impact on performance in softball for fielding or for batting. Sorry, I should have added batting in there. Right, so pause the video here and try and think about what the impact of not being able to bat or field have on performance. Give that a go. Pause the video. Review your answers. So this is what you might have said. You would be unable to respond effectively to all the demands of the performance, such as having to bat and not just field. Meaning when you have to bat, you don't hit the ball effectively and get put out. So it could either be caught by the fielder or it's a short ball and you don't reach the base. Maybe we should go into a bit more detail about that, but we'll do that in the explain answers. In the second one, you could have said you may be unable to field or catch very well, meaning you become predictable to the opposition and they can exploit you by aiming to hit the ball at you to get further round the bases. Okay? So you again have to be able to explain this. So you're going to use the FACI answer structure, which is FACI, factor, activity, context and impact, which starts with meaning, and you're going to try and put those answers into that structure. So, here we go again. Attempt this for roles and responsibilities in softball. So in fielding, do it in your jotter or a piece of paper. Try and attempt to put these answers into the FACI structure. So pause the video here and give that a go. Changing back in 3, 2, 1. So check and change your answers. So in your fielding, our team not having a full repertoire can have another impact on our performance. Activity in softball. When you have to bat, you don't hit the ball effectively. Impact, meaning it becomes a full catch or so short that you don't reach the base in time and get put out. Now I would expect some of your answers not to be correct here, and that was done on purpose. Make sure you check and change this so you understand it. So meaning it becomes a full catch or so short that you don't reach the base in time and get put out. Next one. our team not having a full repertoire can have another impact on performance activity in softball. Context, you may be unable to field or catch very well. Impact, meaning you become predictable to the opposition and they can exploit you by aiming to hit the ball at you and get further round the bases. A really bad impact on performance. And you see it all the time when we're out doing softball. They know who to hit to the batters and they put it there and the person doesn't catch and they get all the way round. So now we're moving on to describe. So to describe, we don't require any answer structure, acronyms, meanings, because, so, therefore. Now you'll have heard me say this so many times that there's no excuse for not doing it when we come back. So just paint a picture of what's happening, like you are a commentator. Blackout task. So here's our explain answers. Black out what you need to do to make them the describe answers. So copy these answers down and make sure that you score out the explain words that you don't need for your describe answers. So pause the video here. Moving on in 3, 2, 1. So here you are. Simple answers. Only 3 things to score out overall. Check and change your answers. Have you removed the right things? Analyze. To break something down into parts. Fielding and batting again. Pretense, it hasn't happened yet. We can use the same answers as your explain, but you're just breaking it down into I, and I. Identify what's the factor activity, the implications, what might happen, and the impact of that on performance. And when you're saying what might happen, talk about you, what might happen to you at this point. And then we move to the impact on performance. So attempt turning your explain answers into 2 analyze answers. I. Do this on your piece of paper or in your jotter. I know this is repetitive, but it's great practice. And so again, it's check and change time. For batting, this is what you should have wrote. Identify our team not having a full repertoire can have another negative impact on our performance in softball. The implications, the possibilities of what might happen if you can't bat is when you have to bat, you may not hit the ball effectively. The impact of that is meaning it might, because it's a possibility, become a full catch so short that you don't reach the base in time and get put out. Next one. Fielding. Our team not having a full repertoire can have another negative impact on performance in softball. You may be unable to field or catch very well. The impact of this would be meaning you become predictable to the opposition and they can exploit you by aiming to hit the ball at you and get further around the bases. Simple. Moving on. We're going to evaluate finally again, and again it's to form an idea or decide whether something that happened, so it's post tense, was good or bad, using I, J, and V. So what was good or bad, what factor and activity, and what's your judgment of what happened, and what was the value, what's the impact of what happened on performance. So here's an example from the previous lesson. Lesson 4 is roles and responsibilities impacted my performance in softball negatively. The judgment is, I didn't know who to throw the ball to when it was struck by the batter to me, so it's happened, it's in the past. And the value of that is meaning I had to wait until someone told me where to throw it and the batter got further around the bases or home. All post tense. So now what I want you to do is turn this analyze answer into an evaluate IJV. So break it down. Pause the video here and break that down into I, J, and V. Pause the video. I'm just about to move on. Check and change your answer. This is what you should have put. So identify would be our team not having a full repertoire can have another negative impact on our performance in softball. When I had to bat, you don't hit the ball effectively or you didn't hit the ball effectively, and meaning it became a full catch or so short that I didn't reach the base in time and got put out. Check and change your answer. Make sure you got it correct. It's all past tense. Moving on. Final wee exit past task here. What are the command words to these answers? Write down 1, 2, 3, and 4. What are the command words? It's not the same as yesterday, so check them out. Which one's analyze, which one's explain, which one's describe, which one's both. And then pause the video. I'm moving on to see the answers now, so pause the video now, and I'm moving on in 3, 2, 1, go. And here are the answers. Number 1 was analyze and explain, all pre-tense. So it was number 2, number 3 was describe, and number 4 was evaluate. And now you've completed that, we've got lesson 5's revision and quiz and assignments that you have to go on to do. And this is to relate everything you've learned on command words there today back to their last activity. So it would be netball or volleyball, and it's describing the impact of a physical factor, explaining, analysing, and evaluating this physical factor has on performance for netball and volleyball. So for netball, that was speed. Remember, you're breaking that down into attack and defence. So why does having speed and attack help us? Who does it help us to get by? In defence, who does it help us to keep track of? Who does it stop from getting close to the net to take an attack and shoot? In volleyball, it was agility. If you can't quickly change direction to reach the ball on one side, what happens if you can't quickly change the direction to get the ball near the back of the court? What would happen? Okay, so good luck everyone. The last lesson of the week, in number 6, is again focusing on scenarios. This is a challenging one, so don't freak out about it. Just practice it and give it a go. So number 6, that'll be up tomorrow. Okay? Take care, everybody. Wish we were in the classroom. This is rubbish. Oh, no, I think the lessons aren't rubbish. I hope that is, but it's just rubbish not being in the classroom with you. But I'm here to talk, so honestly, chat to me about anything. Send me an email or get me in the chat. It can be helpful for others to see that you're maybe stuck on the same thing and get the same answers there. So talk to me.